Smith & Wesson Model 317 kit gun. Let's check it out. Smith & Wesson introduced the Model 317 in 1997, and it was called the kit gun. This actually had its roots in Smith & Wesson's Model 2232, which was designed actually in 1934 for being a small gun that fishermen and hunters could tuck away and carry for pest control or self-defense. But the big difference with the new model is it's completely aluminum alloy except for the barrel. And that aluminum alloy includes the cylinder. It is 11.8 ounces. It's less than half the weight of a Glock 19. And it's part of their Air Light series. 3-inch barrel, and it is just that perfect size to be able to tuck away for hiking, camping, going hunting, fishing. Makes a great tackle box gun. And guys, just the great thing about 22 is it's low report, low recoil, the ammunition's fairly cheap. And with something like this, it would even be a good gun for first-time shooters because it's so lightweight. And yet, the recoil is almost nothing. And we want to give a big thank you to Smith & Wesson for sending the Model 317 for this review. Well, the Smith & Wesson Model 317, and this is actually the Dash 3 for a 3-inch barrel. This is what they consider the kit gun. Now, I've known about these for a number of years, and they were introduced in 1997. It's just a super lightweight, double single action revolver. Even the cylinder itself is aluminum alloy, but it does have a steel barrel, but it's a sleeve inside this barrel, which has this aluminum casing. And we have this really beautiful kind of a chrome satin finish on it. Now first, let's go ahead and check to make sure the gun's unloaded. We have an 8-round cylinder, and so it gives you a few extra shots, and that's great. Typically, 6 rounds has been traditional for a long time, and so they're just upping it. And with the pressures of 22, that's fine. Now, this is also made in the Model 63, which is an all-steel frame, and it's stainless steel. It's a beautiful handgun. It's going to be obviously heavier, in fact up to 25 ounces. This weighs 11.8 ounces, and when you pick it up, it's like crazy light. And it's part of the Air Light series. So it's one of those guns that makes it so easy to carry. And of course with 22, the recoil is just so mild. But again, this was designed for people that are on the go out in the woods. It is a very light option, and yet you still have 22. And 22 is considered a very important survival caliber. Now, while it's not the best for self-defense, there are people that do carry 22 for self-defense. I'm not recommending it, but it's better than the old proverbial sharp stick. What would be a little more capable for that is this 642. This is in 38. It has a stainless steel cylinder and a stainless steel barrel. So it's going to be heavier, and it definitely is. But the aluminum is here. It's just a double action only. The hammer's concealed. These are very popular firearms. I have one in the blue, which is the 442, and then the 642. These are great, and they do make 357 Magnums, and they make a lot of different options with Smith. But there's also the Ruger LCR. This is a very lightweight option because it has a polymer frame, and it's actually considerably cheaper. Now this one is in 9mm, which is kind of unusual, but they do make a 22, and I believe Taurus makes a 22 in the aluminum frame. There are some options out there for this, but to me, the 3-inch barrel, it gives you a little more accuracy, a little more sight radius, so I really like that size. And this is the J frame, which is Smith & Wesson's smallest frame, and probably the J frame is their top selling revolver size. Now they have rubberized grips and they have finger grooves, very comfortable grip to it. Now the shorter barrel, smaller 38s, a lot of times they have a very short grip. And so this gives you actually a little extended grip. And this is not necessarily meant for a concealed carry option, and yet it's still very concealable and easy to put in a pack, in a fanny pack, on your belt, and you won't even know it. And guys, you know, when you're hiking, camping, and doing these things, it's great to have that really lightweight option. Carrying a full steel pistol on your hip is heavy. Now the hammer is spurred, so it makes it really easy just to bring back. The double action is going to be extremely heavy. In fact, Smith & Wesson listed on their website that it is the 10-pound trigger. And so that first pull of the trigger is very heavy. Now, I don't dry fire my 22 rimfires that much, so you want to be careful with that. But with the single action, you can bring it back, and of course that checkering on there makes it really easy, and then a very light, crisp break. And we'll look at the trigger pull weight in a second. On the Model 63, it has a full barrel shroud, and again, it is all stainless. So this really makes it as light and as compact as you can make it. Now we do have an adjustable rear sight, and this is windage adjustable. Has the black that comes all the way down, which is going to cut down on any kind of glare, especially with this really light colored firearm. And then we have a high-vis fiber optic front sight. Now the rod for the fiber optic is actually encased, so it'll keep this from just getting hit and getting busted. But you can change it out, and there is a hole right here. Of course, that really shows up. And I'll tell you guys, the sights show up very well. And you take that rear notch and you just put the dot right there in the sight. Now the dot's a little large, and the way that is a V shape, so it's a little bit different, but man, it really shows up extremely well. And when I was at the range, I really felt like that this was a decent setup for what this is designed for. And you know, obviously you can change out the front sight if you need to. There's a pin right there, but this just gives you a decent aiming little 22 instead of something that's a pocket handgun that has that short barrel and short slide radius and those notch sights. So I really like that they've included those a little bit more target sights, but yet it's not really a target revolver. This was definitely designed around a special purpose. And with it being all aluminum with the cylinder and the frame and even the barrel, now you can see the steel sleeve that's in there. This is designed to be mainly carried a lot and shot little. And for what it is, that's really what typically most people are going to do. To me, if I really want to shoot a 22 little revolver like this with this size, I would go with the Model 63 or their Model 17 or 617. That's a full-size target pistol. It does include the Hillary hole, and this is honestly a lock that just locks up your action. There's a little key included, and you turn it, and that's if you're going to store it and you don't want anybody being able to fire it if you're not in control of it. But I'm not a big fan of the Hillary hole, and there are a number of models that Smith & Wesson makes now with that option. You can have it or not. And for me, I would go without it, but I have a lot of Smith & Wessons with that lock, and I've never had any issues. Now your cylinder release is right here. It has checkering and it is stainless steel, and you just push it forward and that brings out your cylinder. Man, it spins extremely freely. You have serrations all around here, and then you have that lock up to a detent right here under your barrel. But it just has a really nice sound to it. But it's very simple, and that's one of the things about a revolver that is just very appealing, is you pull the trigger and it fires. You don't have to worry about the slide. You typically don't have to worry about malfunctions. I mean, you pull the trigger and bang. And if for some reason you have a light primer strike, you have second strike capability. And again, one thing you don't want to do a lot is dry fire. And you can put snap caps or sometimes even wall anchors if they'll fit in there, because the hammer actually hits the rim of the cartridge. And so you want to make sure that you protect that and you're not hitting somewhere that's going to damage it. Model number is here and your serial number. Now, one big advantage of a revolver over a semi-automatic in 22 is that you can use snake shot and you can fire the rounds without malfunctions. And one of the things about a semi-automatic is it will not function the slide with this snake shot or shot shells. CCI makes them, and they're just great. I've had them for years, and they're just something that's great for, you know, pest control, things like that. It's really like a small little shotgun shell. As far as weight, on the 22 kit gun, 11.8 ounces. When you pick it up, it almost feels like a toy. It's so light. Now, according to Smith & Wesson, double action's 10 pounds, so we're going to check it on our Lyman trigger gauge from Brownells. 10 pounds, 7 ounces. Now let's test our single action. 2 pounds, 14.3 ounces. It has an excellent single action trigger pull. And to give you a little closer look, the double action, while it's heavy, it's really smooth, very smooth. Single action, it gets right back to the trigger, into the trigger guard. Man, it is a really nice trigger. That really makes up for the double action trigger. The one thing you want to make sure though, if you have weaker hand strength, this could be an issue by pulling this back. But the good thing is this grip is so short, and it's a very short reach between the two. So if you're thinking about buying this, especially if you're inexperienced or you're a female shooter, and this looks attractive, make sure that you check to make sure that you can pull that trigger in double action. Now with a revolver, malfunctions are typically rare. If you have them, they're usually ammo related. The only thing we had any trouble with was when after the spent shells and we've shot, we were pushing them out, it would get really tough. It just would not want to come out sometimes, and I'd have to actually really get a hold of it and push them out, or I'd have to take actually a little block and just knock them out. And that may be because the cylinder is aluminum, but that was just one of the things we experienced. Now when you're putting your rounds in, you'll notice this little recessed area, and that is for the rim of the case. And as it drops in, you know, you just want to make sure the shells are flush. But one of the things, again, is while we had a trouble with the spent shells, there's no restriction with the shells that have not been shot. And so definitely they swell just a touch, and that may be what the issue was. But the ejector is stainless steel. And of course we have a little bit of knurling. This will spin. I mean, the one thing about this revolver is you can tell that it has a lot of quality to it. All the lockups are really solid. It just spins freely. And really that's pretty much your moving parts except for your trigger. And guys, we have just revamped our website at suitsgear.com. There's a lot of different suit swag over there, patches, t-shirts, but there's also a lot of my favorite products are there. We also have the Suits deals where we find all kind of deals and offer those to you guys at some of the best prices. Another thing that we do is a lot of the videos that were taken down by YouTube, which we call our contraband or banned videos, and all that's over on suitsgear.com, so check it out. Well, we got the 317-3 or the kit gun. Man, this thing is super light. We want to give a big thank you to Fiocchi for sponsoring the ammo, all made in the USA. One of the biggest suppliers of ammunition in the country. Guys, I'm telling you, this thing is so light. I love it. So, real simple to load. And with 22, it's going to be soft to shoot. And we have so many cylinders here to load. I love it. So one thing about these small revolvers, you can get more than the traditional 6 rounds or even 5 in some of the J frames. So this gives us 8 round capacity. And it's just a very little handy firearm. Well, we got the Smith & Wesson kit gun or model 317-3 for 3-inch barrel. This is the Airlight. It is super lightweight. When I picked it up out of the box even, I was like, man, this thing's like a feather. But with 22, it's so soft to shoot. Now it does have an 8-round cylinder, so it gives you a little extra capacity. Nice rubber grip. But really the recoil is so mild that really the rubber grip just helps you to keep hold of it, especially like in rough conditions, rainy or wet conditions. But very smooth shooting. The sights are over the top. I love that little fiber optic at the front. It just glows that green on that back rear sight, which is serrated. The action's very smooth, even in double action, but we'll shoot it in single action as well. But overall, I mean, it's just a very clean, classic Smith & Wesson firearm. And the kit guns have been around for a long time. And of course, you can get this in an all steel frame. If you're really trying to get accuracy, a lot of people shoot it single action. That means just bringing the hammer back. But for really quick shots, you want to go and know how to shoot that double action, because you know it just really makes it super fast. And typically, if you're hunting or if you're in a self-defense situation, not necessarily with 22, but you're going to want to know how to do that double action. But overall, I mean, this is a classic, and it is so, that air weight model makes it just really fun to take to the range or hiking, camping, whatever. I mean, this makes just a great companion. One thing I've noticed is the cylinder just jams up a little bit sometimes when you're shooting a lot of the 22, which 22 is really dirty, but just a little bit of pressure, extra pressure to get those rounds out.
That's crazy. That doesn't even feel real.
It's so lightweight.
Like even for a 22, this is like shooting a little BB gun.
Now, one beautiful thing about a revolver is there's no real disassembly. If you have to take off the plate, typically there's something wrong with it, and unless you know what you're doing, you should leave that on. But really just pushing your cylinder slide forward, cleaning it really nice right here, especially on the face of the cylinder, just keeping that clean. Right around here at the forcing cone and up here is just get that brush and some lubricant, and you can clean this really well. And of course, dry clean back here in the back. But overall, it's just very simple. And of course, run a brush down your bore. So maintenance is very easy. Low maintenance makes this a very appealing firearm when you're in the field. Now, keeping your firearms maintained and cleaned is vital. Otis makes some of the best cleaning equipment out there. They make a number of different kits that are dedicated for different rifles, pistols. They also have Shooter's Choice, which makes excellent CLP and bore solvent and different cleaning materials. The Ripcord is one of their signatures, and there's a whole system based around it. They are suppliers to the U.S. military. So check out Otis Technologies, highly recommended, and we want to thank Otis for being a sponsor of the channel. That comes in a Smith & Wesson box. Of course, you get your pistol in the blue little bag. Owner's manual, things like that are in the bottom. And then right here we have a lock, and you have your small lock for the Hillary hole. Now, the retail price is $849. That's a little steep for a little 22 revolver, especially when you consider the Model 642 and 38 retails for $539. And of course, market price is going to be less. Now, there are other options, and of course, we talked about the Ruger LCR. There's a 22 model, and then you have Taurus also makes a 22 lightweight option. But I don't think they match the quality of the Smith & Wesson. It's just a really well-finished, very smooth handgun. But that is one of the considerations when it comes to buying this. Now, what are pros and cons? First off, the big pro is it's in 22 long rifle, and it's incredibly lightweight. Again, 11.8 ounces. So 11.5 ounces, easy to carry. You do have 8 rounds of capacity. It's very comfortable to shoot. The grip makes it nice, and even in wet conditions or when you're messing around with fish or hunting and there's blood, this makes a great way to be able to have a good grip on the pistol. Recoil is not a problem. It's very soft to shoot, and that's one of the big appeals of 22. 22 is cheaper, which makes it really a great way to do more shooting. And you can use shot shells in a revolver, and so with 22, this makes an excellent pest control firearm. I love the sights. They're high profile, and you've got that fiber optic at the front, and the single action trigger pull is exceptionally nice. Double action trigger pull is heavy. That's really your safety, which this is still accurate even with that heavy trigger pull. As far as the cons go, well, it's all aluminum. And if you're gonna shoot a lot, you may wanna go again with the Model 63, which is an all steel frame. This will take still a steady diet of rounds. And really shooting bulk ammo in this makes it maybe a little bit dirtier, but it's fairly inexpensive. And it does less wear on your revolver. CCI Stingers or mini mags or different other high velocity rounds, it's gonna do a little more wear and tear on the revolver. So personally, I like just the bulk ammunition. Super lightweight, so it's easy to carry. And if you're out in the outdoors, this is great. One of the things I use, I have a little 22 Magnum Airweight. I believe it's a 351 PD. It is super lightweight, and sometimes if I'm just running outside to maybe take the trash up to the road or I'm doing something, I may slip that in my pocket because it is so easy to carry. And being a Smith & Wesson J-frame, you're gonna have a lot of holster options. And for that matter, grip options. The shells kind of binding up a little bit in the cylinder was a little bit annoying. You know, you really have to kind of have something to bump that. But otherwise, it was very accurate and we really had a great time taking this out to the range. And the next time I go fishing or I'm hunting, this would be a great little small option to throw in your pack. Even if you have a larger firearm on your hip, this still makes a great option where a 22 really fits the bill. Guys, if you're looking for a small 22 revolver to carry when you're out in the great outdoors, this makes an excellent option. Again, hunting, camping, fishing, I mean, getting outside, for that matter, even jogging and hiking. It's just such a lightweight option. It's easy to tuck away. And with 22 long rifle just being inexpensive, this makes just a great option just to take out and plink. And again, we want to thank Smith & Wesson for sending the Model 317 kit gun for this review. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. -3, okay, and we want to give the smaller little 38s like this J-frame, okay. Sometimes like the smaller, okay. Sometimes like the smaller 6.4, okay. Now the smaller, okay. The Smith & Wesson kit gun. Let's check it out. Home on the range. Smith & Wesson Model 316, John 316. I'm having trouble today.
I did not know you were going to do that.
You don't ever know what I'm going to do.
You're right, I don't. At this point,
Hey,
I really don't.
I don't even know what I'm going to do.